Okay, so today we're going deep on Jesse Itzler's Living with a Seal. You shared this book with me, and I gotta say I loved it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's wild, and we're gonna break down what we think are the core insights of this whole crazy experiment of this guy, this entrepreneur who decides to have a Navy SEAL come live with him for a month,
Yeah.
and put him through some pretty intense training.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about the initial, like what even sparked this idea,
Right.
and then some of the specific methods that he uses, some of which are pretty out there,
Yeah.
and then what the ultimate impact of this whole experience was.
Yeah, and the book itself draws from his actual diary and blog posts from the time. So, this is a guy who's used to his routines. He's an entrepreneur. So,
Right.
this is not a guy who's used to shaking things up too much. And he decides to bring in this highly decorated but unnamed Navy SEAL
Yeah.
who he met at a 100-mile race. And he brings him into his everyday life in New York City to basically turn everything upside down.
Yeah, Itzler actually makes it a point to say in the book
Yeah.
that he's writing this based on his memory, so
Oh, right.
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
That he's condensing things a little bit for the sake of telling the story.
Of course.
And also, very importantly, that nobody should try to actually do these workouts.
Yeah.
They're really intense and
Not recommended.
not recommended. Yeah.
Yeah. The SEAL's arrival is incredible. I mean, imagine this December in New York City, 14 degrees.
Right.
This guy shows up at his door. No winter clothing, no coat, no hat, no gloves.
Wow.
And he doesn't say hello. He just walks in and says, "You ready?"
Oh, my gosh.
It really sets the tone for how unconventional this whole thing is going to be.
I mean, talk about a shift in atmosphere.
Yeah.
Itzler is living his, pretty cushy life on Central Park West. And in walks this just like force of nature
Totally.
who is just no nonsense all the time.
Yeah.
There's this great story early on about the temperature where, Itzler's like, oh, look at my computer. It says 14 degrees.
Right.
And the SEAL just dismisses him and says, the temperature is what you think it is.
Oh, God.
He's like, it feels like 55 to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like right off the bat, this idea of like mind over matter
Right.
is like front and center.
And then it's followed by like this really powerful demonstration.
Yeah.
Itzler, is feeling pretty good about himself. He's done like 17 push-ups.
Right.
And the SEAL just says like, "We're staying here till you do 100.
Oh, my God.
And that's it.
Wow.
Like just totally shattering his existing limitations.
So to kind of understand like how Itzler even got to this point,
Right.
the book gives you some background on his upbringing.
Yeah.
He talks about like this interesting dynamic between his mom, who's very health conscious, but also very unconventional,
Right.
and his dad, who's very supportive and creative.
Right.
And like one example he gives is that his mom took him to the dentist and wouldn't let him use Novocaine,
Oh,
which is like, wow.
that's intense.
So maybe that's where he gets this tolerance for, pain and pushing boundaries.
Yeah, like built in from childhood.
Yeah, exactly. So the SEAL's there, the mind over matter, temperature debates happen, the 100 push-up challenges out there.
Right.
Let's get into the training.
Yeah.
How intense was it?
Yeah, what are we talking about here?
So it was relentless, and a lot of it started, before the sun even came up.
Yeah.
We're talking runs and freezing temperatures.
Sure.
And they kicked it off the first morning with a 6-mile run in Central Park.
Oh my gosh, no easing into it at all.
No.
So what were some of the actual workouts like?
So one that really stands out is called nickels and dimes.
Okay.
So it was 5 pull-ups, the nickels,
Yeah.
10 push-ups, the dimes.
Okay.
And you would do that every minute on the minute,
Wow.
and you would just keep going.
Wow.
And there's this treadmill workout where the incline is constantly going up,
Yeah.
and he's holding 20-pound dumbbells.
And by the time he gets to the top, it feels like he's climbing a mountain carrying minivans.
Oh, my gosh.
And the volume of some of these exercises is incredible. He's doing hundreds of push-ups a day.
That's insane.
But what's interesting is that they didn't stretch.
What?
Yeah, the SEAL's whole philosophy was like, why stretch?
Really?
You just start and you finish.
No prep, no recovery.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah.
That's so different.
And to kind of push the mental side of things,
Yeah.
one night he made Itzler sleep in a chair.
What?
Yeah, just to get him out of his comfort zone.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
I mean, this guy is 42 years old.
Mhm.
He has a family.
Right.
And he's sleeping in a chair.
Yeah,
That's wild.
it's intense.
So what was the SEAL like as a person?
Well, he was very stoic.
Yeah.
And he would always just say what was on his mind. Like
Yeah.
one of his catchphrases was, "This ain't piss time, it's run time."
Wow.
And he never really made small talk.
Yeah, it sounds like he was always laser focused.
Yeah. And there were these times where he would be like super vigilant.
Really? Like, what do you mean?
So like when they were driving, he would point at every single car they passed.
Like as if they were a threat.
Yeah, exactly. And one time they were at a restaurant and he got really suspicious of the waiter.
Like he thought the waiter was going to do something.
Yeah, he just had this constant awareness of everything around him.
Wow.
And then there was the tent.
The tent?
Yeah, he set up a camp tent inside Itzler's apartment.
Wait, a full-on tent?
Yeah, with a generator pumping air into it.
Are you kidding me? Inside his Manhattan apartment.
Yeah.
That is so bizarre.
And then there's the inflatable raft and oars.
What?
Yeah, he brought those in case they needed to escape Manhattan in an emergency.
So he's prepared for, like, any situation.
Always.
So in the midst of all this, how was Itzler handling all of this craziness?
Well, at first he was definitely in shock.
I can imagine.
And struggling. Like,
Yeah.
he talks about how sore he was. He even said his nuts were bleeding from all the running. Oh, my gosh.
But then his body started to adapt.
Really?
Yeah, he actually felt good during a run, even though they weren't stretching.
Wow.
And he even got a personal best on this really tough mountain loop run in Connecticut.
That's amazing.
And his view of the seal started to change too.
How so?
At first, he was just bewildered by him.
Right.
But then he started to understand him more and even admire his discipline and mental toughness.
So it went from kind of fear to respect. Yeah, I think so. So what did the people around Itzler think of all this?
So his wife, Sarah Blakely, she's the founder of Spanx.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was skeptical at first, especially when Itzler told her he wanted to run this race called Badwater.
That's supposed to be like one of the toughest races in the world, right?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Wow.
So she went to see it for herself.
Really?
Yeah, and then she saw the seal running in Death Valley, and she was just shocked.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't be?
And then back in New York, she wasn't too thrilled about him sleeping in a chair.
Yeah, and then there's this story about Kevin Garnett meeting the seal.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just completely focused on the seal. He barely even noticed Itzler.
Oh.
And the cleaning staff in their building, they were fascinated by him, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, they would spend extra time cleaning his room, even though it was already spotless.
That's hilarious.
And then there's the company holiday party.
Oh, yeah. What happened there?
So the seal just ate a ton of food.
After not really eating much before?
Yeah. And then he said this really insightful thing.
What was it?
He said that they don't give their lives enough credit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just this really powerful moment that made everyone stop and think.
So Itzler was pushed to his limits physically.
Oh, yeah.
But there were also some really extreme moments of mental endurance.
Absolutely. One that really stands out is when the seal ran a 75-mile race with broken bones in both feet.
You're kidding me?
Nope, broken metatarsals in both feet.
And he still ran.
He finished the race.
That's insane.
Yeah, and then there's the steam room incident. So the seal made this incredibly hot steam room.
Wow.
And Itzler almost passed out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a little too much.
And then there was the 1,000 push-ups challenge.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-blowing.
It is, but he did it.
Over the course of a day.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then they would train in the middle of the night, like 1 in the morning.
In the freezing cold.
Yeah.
Wow, this guy is a machine.
He is.
So after this month was up, the seal left.
Yeah.
How did that go down?
He left a note that said, "That's it. I'm out."
Just like that.
Yeah. No goodbyes.
So did anything change for Itzler after all this?
Oh, yeah. So now every room in his house has a fire extinguisher and a flashlight.
Really?
Yeah. And they have fire suits.
Wow.
And remember the inflatable raft?
Oh, yeah.
That's behind the bar now?
So he took the preparedness thing to heart.
Definitely.
But what about his mindset? Did that change?
Yeah, he talks about how he now has this totally different view of his limitations.
Yeah.
He realized the power of repetition and consistency.
Right.
And how important your mindset is.
Wow. This sounds like this experience really changed him.
It did. And there's this one last story that really sums up the seal's mindset.
Okay.
So they went to the Bahamas.
Nice.
Yeah. But the seal spent the whole time in his room riding a stationary bike.
What?
Yeah. He was training for an event.
So he went to the Bahamas and stayed inside.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
It is.
So what are the big takeaways from all this?
Well, I think the big thing is that we have way more potential than we think.
Yeah.
And if we're consistent and we have the right mindset, we can achieve amazing things.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to step outside of our comfort zone to really see what we're capable of.
Absolutely. And that image of the SEAL training in the Bahamas
Yeah,
really makes you think.
it does. Like, what really drives us and what is true rest?
Exactly.
It's a good question.
Yeah. So what's one thing that you think you could do
Yeah.
to kind of shake things up in your own life?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, what would be your own little insane thing to try?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a great deep dive.
It has.
It's a fascinating book.
Yeah, definitely recommend it.
All right. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See ya.